I am Crystal Hinkle. I am part of the team here at Syncro. Welcome to Open Office Hours. I will let the other ladies introduce themselves.
Hey everybody, it's Tatiana. Welcome.
Hi everyone, I'm Brandy. Nice to see you all.
Hey everybody, it's Hannah. Happy Friday.
Yes, happy Friday. Woohoo! Going to be sailing into the weekend. Very excited. Well, for those of you that are joining us for the first time, welcome to Open Office Hours. We have a special treat for you today. And so just to do a little bit of housekeeping before we start, these are recorded. All of our previous ones are recorded. We post them on our YouTube channel. Today's session will probably be posted either this afternoon or Monday at the latest. If you're joining us for the first time, we use the Q&A. So the chat, you might see the chat available. We drop links and things like that into the chat, but for us to be able to answer your questions in the most efficient way, definitely prefer that you use the Q&A so that we can manage that and organize that. So with that said, if you see our eyes looking at different screens, we're not paying attention. We're probably getting ready to answer some questions. I always like to say that. But otherwise, all questions are welcome. Whether you're looking at Synchro for the first time, you've been with us for years, we're happy to answer whatever questions that you might have. But like I mentioned today, we do have a very special edition of Open Office Hours. We have Webroot joining us today. And so we've got Craig and Gary. So if you guys want to, show us your faces and hop in, introduce yourselves, let us know what you do for Webroot. And then we'll kind of go from there.
Sounds good. Are you hearing me okay?
Yes.
All right, Crystal. Well, thanks. You're kind of brave. Most people don't want us to show our faces. This is kind of new. Tatiana, are you like hiking through the mountains or something today? That's awesome.
Yeah, apparently I am. I switched to my virtual background and I just, Spokane has been having some beautiful weather. I feel like fall is in the air, so brought this one back.
Oh, so amazing. I love it. Well, thanks for the introduction. I'm Gary Owen with Webroot. I'm a senior channel account manager. One of my roles at Webroot is I actually look after our partnership with Synchro, as you guys know. So that's just kind of my background and bio. So Craig, I'll kind of hand it over to you to do your intro, man.
All right, welcome everybody. Craig Papke with Webroot, lead solutions consultant. Myself and Gary are the team that helps support Synchro. So we do anything from helping you troubleshooting to deployment to anything that you can have from a question about our products or how they work in your environments.
Awesome. Yes. So we, just for everyone here, we definitely rely on Gary and Craig to help us with those technical questions. When you ask us, hey, does Webroot do this? I don't know, ask Craig or Gary. So they are the ones that we go to, also the ones that, I think what's been so great about Webroot is just their availability to help anyone interested in Synchro as well. So like they'll hop on a call, they'll show, how to set up the integration and stuff like that. So it's been really, really helpful. So what we would really like to do today is, it's rare, honestly, for vendors to be so open and be like, hey, yeah, we're going to hop on a call and we're open to Q&A. So this is kind of a unique opportunity for everybody to just get their questions out there. I know, obviously, I think maybe to kick this off, I think everyone's got, I think forever, security's been pretty high on the mind. I think that it's probably everyone's hyper aware, it seems like in our world today. So I guess if you guys wouldn't mind, and just to kind of throw you on the spot here, why choose Webroot? Like why is, MSPs that are hanging out with us today, if they haven't heard of Webroot or haven't tried it, why Webroot?
So I would say that for Webroot, we've been really, really hyper-focused on the MSP space for probably the last 7 years. And what we've found is that, managing AV has typically been kind of a sore spot for MSPs in the past, right? You've got all kinds of issues related to system performance because of a huge AV agent sitting on the system. pretty ineffective in terms of traditional AV, right? As far as actually providing the security that they're supposed to be providing. And so what we've found is that we've really enabled MSPs to kind of turn managing AV into more of a profit center. We've got a solution that's super easy to deploy, especially through integrations like we have with Syncro. Super easy to manage, very, very straightforward multi-tenant console. We have the smallest agent in the industry. It's about a 5 meg install, so you don't see those system performance issues. And because of the unique threat intelligence and architecture of our solution, it really is one of the most effective solutions in the industry, especially when you look at some of the modern day threats, your script-based and fileless threats and zero-day attacks and things like that. We're a super effective solution. So to be able to provide that overall kind of great security product that's super easy to deploy and manage, it's just been a great fit for the MSP space, as well as even some of the small and medium businesses. And it really alleviates a lot of the pain traditionally associated with managing AV.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for that. I think, you know, and one of the questions we're going to we'll go triage the Q&A for you guys. But one of the questions that we do get often is we have a lot of MSPs using Sentinel-1 and wondering like, hey, like, why would we ever switch off of Sentinel-1 to something else? Do you?
Yeah, so Sentinel-1's a good product. To be perfectly honest, and a lot of people don't necessarily realize this, but we're seeing kind of industry-wide this massive movement towards what we call next-gen endpoint protection. Sentinel-1 being one of those kinds of solutions, right? We're seeing a lot of them arrive on the scene. We're seeing a lot of new vendors come to market with next-gen solutions, but we're also seeing a lot of the old players like your Trend and Bitdefender and other competitors out there who are coming out with new kind of next-gen products. What a lot of folks don't realize is Webroot was really at the forefront of this movement when we launched our endpoint protection product 10 years ago. So really the industry is kind of playing catch up to what we've been doing for over a decade, which is getting away from signature-based detection and doing more kind of real-time behavioral-based machine learning type of protection. So nothing wrong with Sentinel-1, obviously, or Bitdefender. They're great solutions, but I think a lot of people don't realize that those companies and those vendors are really kind of playing catch up to what we've been doing for a decade now.
Awesome. Thank you. That, I mean, it's always good. We get those questions answered a lot, but it's nice hearing it straight from you. Do you want to hop in, Brandy?
Yeah, so there's another question in here from Kyle for you all, which says, what does Webroot do in regards to preventing ransomware?
That's our thing. That's our shtick, if you will. So ransomware is really, what a lot of folks I think are starting to realize, right, is that MSPs and SMBs have really become the target, and ransomware is really kind of the malware of choice, if you will. Ransomware became officially a $1 billion industry in 2016, and it's grown into a multi-billion-dollar industry since then. And when you put it in those terms, what's kind of frightening, ransomware really is one of the fastest growing industries on earth today. So it's not going anywhere. It's only getting worse, and they're becoming far more sophisticated about the way they go about distributing ransomware. At Webroot, we're really at the forefront of combating these kinds of modern day threats. Ransomware, no different than anything else, right? And what's unique to Webroot, and this is unique to Webroot, even when you compare us to some of our next gen competitors, what makes us so effective against these types of threats is the threat intelligence that's behind our solution. And so if you're not familiar with Webroot, we actually utilize the world's most powerful threat intelligence engine in the world to power our solution. It's a real-time cloud-based global threat intelligence platform. We're actually the #1 OEM threat intelligence vendor in the world today. So we have over 120 threat intelligence partners like Palo Alto, Cisco. We're number one in terms of threat intelligence, and we use this threat intelligence platform to power our endpoint protection solution. And so what's really unique about the way it's architected is there's a direct client cloud architecture, which means every endpoint that we support, over 90 million endpoints worldwide, they access this threat intelligence platform directly in real time. And so what's unique about that is we only have to see a threat one time on one machine anywhere in the world. And from the moment we make the determination that it's actually something bad, we instantaneously protect more than 90 million endpoints worldwide, which is something none of our competitors can do. The other thing that's really unique about the way this solution is architected, with that direct client cloud architecture, it enables us to leverage those 90 million endpoints like additional threat researchers, right? So we're literally getting new URLs, new IPs, new files, all this great data fed directly into our intelligence network from 90 million endpoints for us to make determinations on. And so it's kind of like next level crowdsourced threat intelligence that no one else can do. So that's what makes us so effective against all different kinds of threats, but in particular ransomware, because that's really the big one that folks are concerned about today.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely front of mind. One of the questions, I don't actually understand the question, so I'm just going to read it. What does GSM in Webroot GSM translate to?
I got this one, Gary. We'll give you a breather here for a second.
Yeah,
so GSM is the Webroot Global Site Manager. So really just our console, right? We have tried to rebrand it. We are rebranding it. It's just the Webroot Management Console, but it'll soon be one of those times where a couple of years from now, if you say GSM to me, I know how long you've been a partner.
Probably why I didn't know what the question meant.
Yeah, our terms, right? Enough acronyms out there.
Yeah, we're gonna have the only thing I would add to that, the idea behind the Global Site Manager console is its multi-tenant construct. And so the console really was developed with the managed service provider in mind. So you've got multi-tenancy, which works out well for a couple of different reasons. Number one, it allows a managed service provider to differentiate on a per customer basis. So they can differentiate customer A from customer B to customer C. Maybe you've got a customer who wants access to their own console, but you don't want them to see all the rest of your customer data. You can do that in our console, but it also allows you to kind of globally manage your policies and your overrides and things like that. And so you're not constantly having to recreate your policies. You can do that at a global level, make it available to every one of your customer sites in the Webroot console without having to recreate it over and over again. And it also works really, really well with our integrations, right? Because from an integration perspective, that now allows you to start marrying your Webroot site construct to organizations and groups within your RMM platform.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Craig and Gary. I do just want to remind everyone that you can ask any and all questions today. So just like our normal Friday open office hours, if you do have other questions, we'll make sure we kind of, everything seems to be Webroot right now, but if we do notice other ones, we'll kind of plug those in so that those of you who came today to get your questions answered, we'll get to those as well. I have another question for you guys. This is a two-part question. Does Webroot offer their DNS solution integration into Synchro? And how does Webroot DNS compare to Cisco Umbrella?
Awesome. Good stuff. So yeah, actually it's a very similar solution to Cisco Umbrella. So same kind of thing. We can provide both network-based or roaming agent-based protection. It allows for policy enforcement, right? So kind of a web filtering solution where if you want to categorically block things like pornography or things like that, you can kind of shape what that end user experience is going to be. And yeah, it's 100% completely and totally available through Synchro. From an integration standpoint, it's going to be managed from the Webroot console, but it can be provisioned and basically turned on, if you will, by way of your Synchro platform.
Awesome.
The other thing I would add too is The huge differentiator for me on DNS protection as opposed to like a Cisco umbrella is number one, it's managed through your existing Webroot endpoint protection console. So you don't have to stand up a separate console like you would if you were using two different solutions. And the other thing that's really, really powerful, once again, is the threat intelligence behind it. And when the question about Cisco umbrella comes up, I always like to point out, and you know, I'm not pointing any fingers or anything like that, but Cisco's our biggest threat intelligence OEM partner out there. Our threat intelligence powers 5 of their 7 business lines. So I think that kind of speaks volumes to the threat intelligence behind the Webroot platform.
Awesome. So I've got a couple questions in here, and like I mentioned, I think security is definitely at the top of everyone's mind, and maybe, you know, have some folks in here that have used Webroot in the past, and I think like a common theme that I'm hearing is that like security is kind of this never-ending journey. We're always working on. It's never going to be like you are 100% secure all the time. Like I think this is something that we're hearing a lot. So 2 questions just regarding security and like improvements like on the Webroot side. So one question has to do with being involved in tests or comparisons with other partners, and if you're like surfacing any of that kind of stuff. And then also just maybe just from like a company level, in maybe like the last year, what improvements or what have you done security wise to like make sure you're, you know, staying on top of everything?
Yeah, so security and efficacy is always our number one priority. We are working to improve that all the time. We in fact just recently launched a feature within our console called the Evasion Shield, which is patented technology against the newest fileless kinds of attacks, script-based attacks, PowerShell, that kind of thing. It's patented technology that no one else has. We've got a new foreign code shield that's going to be released here in the next couple of months that we've actually been evaluating and kind of silent mode in the background that folks are going to start seeing here very, very soon. So efficacy and security are always our number one priority. We just got the highest ratings possible from SE Labs, which is great. That's been, Craig, is that 2 or 3 consecutive quarters now that we've gotten?
That's 2, actually. I was looking, looks like a new report just came out. So I must have been just like in the past week or 2. So time to see if it's been 3 in a row.
There we go. So yeah, we get great ratings. Now the one thing that I will say is some of your more traditional third-party testing agencies, you're not going to find a whole lot from Webroot out there. And the reason for that is because some of these more traditional ones, I'll pick on A/B test, for example, they haven't updated their testing methodologies to be able to really accurately test next-gen endpoint solutions. They're really geared toward more signature-based traditional solutions. And so unless and until they're willing to change the way they actually test AV products, we don't participate.
And to add to that, be careful what you look at out there. There's a lot of zoo tests that happen, and a lot of them are very organized where people are making a scenario look like it would be in the real world, but in no way, shape, or form would that actually happen in real life. So check the reputation of what you're looking at from a review standpoint. And really the only true way of testing things out is to kick the tires yourself and to really try the product, put it in your environments. And I think that's where you'll start to see where the Webroot solution really is effective. And it really is the right fit for your teams.
Yeah, I mean, if the third-party tests were so reliable, everybody would still be using Symantec, which we know is about 55% effective in the real world.
Right.
There's some really good ones out there on YouTube and in the way you see the forums on Reddit and things like that. It gets pretty wild out there.
Oh yeah, for sure. And Craig, I know you've passed these on to us before, but feel free if you want to drop any, like as panelists, we can put stuff in the chat if you wanted to put a link to what you're reading. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I just put a couple of the links. Hopefully that I posted to everyone. It should have posted in the chat window, but I think I got a little bit of that taken care of already.
Oh, perfect. Okay, I didn't see it. Yes, awesome. Yeah, appreciate it.
I'll grab the next question here. Really appreciate you guys both being here. I'm learning a ton of about Webroot just in general for myself when people ask us questions. I am going to take more of a Synchro related question first, just to kind of break up the queue a little bit. And then I have another Webroot question right after that. So Craig asks, can you password protect the credential manager in Synchro so that the technicians have to put a password in order to uncover the password? If not, are there plans to do this in the future? So I'm going to quickly share my screen and I'll show you guys what he is asking about. So in Synchro, there are two different ways to manage passwords. Option number one is right here in the credentials. You can list the credentials. It's more of like credential storage. This is encrypted. It is salted per row. You do have to click. There isn't a way to ask your technician to enter a password before that gets kind of revealed underneath. They just have to click into that. So as a separate option for you, you do have the option to go to our App Center and check out our password vault that's available in Synchro right here. So this actually will encrypt any custom field for you in Synchro on customers' contacts or assets. So what I mean when I say that is once you set up your password vault, basically it'll look like this. You can encrypt custom fields to where you do have to enter a password in order to lock what is underneath your password vault password, if that makes sense. So if you are using password vault, there is one password vault password to unencrypt all of these custom fields. So that would be the way to do it. There isn't a way to use password vault to kind of lock down this before revealing what's underneath these credential passwords, if that makes sense. So that is that question. Please let me know if that's helpful. I'm happy to do a follow-up on that one as well. And then
real quick, do you want to show the report? I don't know if you have it up or I can, but there is like a credential access report that you could show. So sometimes people want to see, I can just show this real quick to follow up. So if you look in your reporting section, and this is obviously it's not going to help with the question, but it at least will show you what people are looking at. So if you want to run like under employees, you can see what was viewed like by your technician. So I would also use the credential access report just as a little bit more discovery on, you know, who's looking at these credentials too. So that might help too. Security.
Yeah. Absolutely. I appreciate that, Brandy. I sometimes forget that we release new reports all the time, and definitely that one is useful, especially with everybody being as security conscious and like really being front of mind for all of us in this time. The other one I wanted to mention, actually, Gary and Craig, this one is for you. Corey says, has Webroot updated SAP? It has been a couple of years since we've used it. Just says SAP. Don't know what that stands for.
Like the company, like the billion-dollar company. I don't understand. I'm sorry. I'm not sure I know what is meant by that.
No problem at all, Corey. If you can send in a follow-up question to expand on that a little bit more, we will be happy to address that for you.
Yeah, if it's the application itself, we have thousands of customers that use SAP products. But yeah, let's get some more detail.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I have a regular question, a Synchro question, and also a Webroot question. So Emily, first of all, is asking, is there a minimum number of seats or users needed to use Synchro? Not sure if you're referring to Synchro or Webroot, but since you said Synchro, I'll start with that. Either way, though, there's no minimum. So with Synchro, I guess there is a minimum. You have to have one to have an account, right? So that would be a minimum. Just one technician license is what's needed in order to utilize Synchro. And then in terms of Webroot, I'll just throw this out there. The great thing about it is you don't have to purchase a certain number of licenses either. It's purely based on usage each month. So if you have 3 devices with Webroot this month and 300 next month, well, great. You don't have to worry about I'm paying for 500 licenses and I'm only using 400. So no minimum for either one of those. I guess just one for each. And then I have a question from Craig about Webroot. So does the DNS have anti-ransomware and anti-malware protection like Umbrella?
Yeah, absolutely. That's again, that's the power of the threat intelligence platform, right? The whole idea behind the DNS protection product is really kind of twofold. I had talked about the web filtering where you're shaping that end user internet experience, but the biggest piece to that by far and away is anti-malware, anti-ransomware, right? If we can keep people from going to the bad stuff in the first place, studies that we've conducted have shown that you can reduce the amount of bad stuff introduced to your network by up to 85% by implementing a solution like the DNS protection solution. And so, when you think about it in those terms, the amount of garbage that your end users run into, if you can reduce that by 85% right out of the gate, why aren't you?
Who's up? Hannah? You
I'll
up?
grab, yes, this
I-
question from Larry, and then we'll circle back to another Webroot question because this is awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here. Larry's asking, what is that 2-finger sign on that account? Oh, Larry, this is my favorite thing. I don't know if you were here last week. Probably not, because we went over this, because this is awesome, but you can actually put icons attached to custom fields. So I'm just going to share my screen. Randy did a good job last time of pointing out that this is not available on asset custom fields. I did look into that, and that is not available, but this 2-finger icon definitely says that this customer is happy, and this is directly connected to his billing status within the custom fields. And so if we edit our custom fields, if we were to change the billing status to, maybe that Larry is behind, unfortunately, he's just not paid up to date, we can save that, and now it's designating that he's behind. And you can actually see this a ton of different places in Synchro. So if you have different team members that then you want to say that, hey, don't work for them, they're behind with us, that you can do it with an easy icon. And those can be attached to the customer custom fields and the contact custom field, or actually just the customer custom fields, I think. Awesome. Okay, so that is going to be Larry's question. And then there's another question here about Webroot from Evan. Does Webroot sync any data back to Synchro, like threats found, remediated, installation status, server status, etc.?
So not at this time from what gets put back into Synchro. These are all great suggestions. What I'd love to get out of anything is if we can get people to keep adding suggestions so that the integration can get built even more elaborate. Webroot does have, and I will show you here. Am I allowed to show my screen? I believe I can here. But what I'd like to show is this desktop. So the data that you're going to get out of Webroot, can everybody see my console? Is it? I think I have to hit share one more time.
Here it is.
There we go. All right. So and actually, I think everybody's seeing their faces too. Let me get that off that screen. Okay. The Webroot Management Console itself is going to have a ton of information from a reporting standpoint, from a detailed threat information standpoint. But I do see, like, we have standard reporting here. This can get all automated for you guys. So while it's not directly pumping the data back into Synchro, we can help manage those moments from a data and a collection of information kind of standpoint. So we do also have in our product, and I just switched over to what is our universal reporter. So here's more data that you can get back. This is a standalone product. It lives in our console underneath API reporting. So feel free to grab that as well. One of the things that kind of hides out in our console is this, where you can customize these templates. They are Excel spreadsheets and PDFs that you can send to your customers, you can send to yourself for review and move them on. But it's a great way to kind of standardize your process from a monthly perspective. How many licenses do I have out there, and what types of infections and things like that. So if I just kind of quickly cruise through just some of the data that is put into these reports, you can start to see I've got nice pre-made kind of pretty information reports that I can send to my customers. So, and this will give you the detailed information you're looking for.
Thank you so much, Craig. I'm actually going to hop in real quickly and kind of chime in on the Synchro side and what you can see over here. So let me just share my screen with you guys.
I will
All right,
stop sharing.
Go. So you actually can get some pretty good information, which is the advantage of having the integration, right? And purchasing that directly through Syncro. So I'm in the automations tab here. You can absolutely set up your different triggers, and you might say webroot detection. So you're going to be able to create some different types of automated remediations in here just based on those triggers. And then of course, if you wanted to create a ticket or send you a Teams or Slack notification, you can definitely do that. And then of course, like let me just see if I have a device. I have two more things I'm going to show you because let me see if I have a device with Webroot. I'm not sure if we do on our test account. We don't. But I created little saved asset searches for like Webroot. You can run a scan inside of Syncro as well. And then if I go to the executive summary template, one of the options you can add in here is your AV threats. So you can, this is an awesome report. If anyone hasn't played around with this, I absolutely love it. I talked to someone today who had spent like, he's on a trial and he had spent like thousands of minutes in the system and hadn't gotten to this part yet. So you can truly report on whatever it is you want. If you want to have your Webroot threats detected on the same report that you're showing devices that don't have antivirus and do have antivirus and you name it, you just come in here and you build these different sections out. So I would absolutely do that. And you can see your threats and then you would just choose Webroot here. So those are just a couple different places that can be beneficial for you. And I actually see another question kind of in regards to, I think I can take this. Okay, Joseph is asking if our subscription is with Pax8, can we transfer it over to Syncro? So you can migrate your existing account, and what happens there is in your app center of Syncro, you go click on the app card. And it does kind of depend on the process is from the time you do that, you request that we integrate through Syncro, we send a message over to Webroot. They essentially tell us if your contract is up within 90 days or if you're month to month, no problem. But if you have like an annual subscription with whoever your provider is, as long as it's up within 90 days, Webroot says, hey, it's okay to go ahead and migrate over to Syncro. And then we would handle that. So, and then having those advantages of reporting and threats and automations as well. So hopefully that helps. And I don't think I have any more.
I will hop in. I'm going to grab one that is Syncro specific from Hannah. Do the password vault encryptions work on both the customer and contact custom fields? What about the ticket custom fields? So anywhere that you can create an encrypted custom field, which is customers, contacts, tickets, and assets, will utilize our password vault that's built right in. If you want to share encrypted fields, use credentials. Credentials are on the customer level, and credentials can be passed to the customer via the customer portal. So those are the main differences there, but you can use our password vault for customers, contacts, tickets, assets. Yes. Okay. So Gary, Craig, I've got a couple of the let's dive in. We've established we've established a safe space. So now we're going to dive in. So one of the questions is based regarding DNS filtering. Just a couple of maybe a mix of suggestions, feedback kind of thing. Reporting. It would be nice to see top X number users, top sites, breakdowns by clients, etc. And another is the delay in applying the policies. Are there any plans for updates for these? And this is specifically DNS filtering related.
Yeah, so the reporting specifically referenced in that question actually is available, both in the real-time reporting as well as the universal reporter that Craig had shown us here just a few moments ago. So that reporting absolutely is 100% available. In terms of the amount of time it takes to apply the policies, that typically is determined by the polling interval policy setting for the endpoint protection product. So you may have a polling interval that's set to, you know, a daily poll as opposed to polling every 15 minutes or something like that. But that's something that if it would be helpful, you can feel free to reach out to Craig and I. We'd be happy to get on a call with you individually, go through your console, kind of check out your policy settings and see what we can do to help you.
And just kind of looking at the DNS reports, because I just hit the drop-down menu, it ranges from active hosts to block categories, domains, which are all drilled down. So as soon as you start to see what you're looking for, you click on it, and then it starts getting into the deeper information. So all of that is built in right there on the reports tab.
Okay, perfect. And then we've got one based upon the new, because I know you guys just came out with a new console. Have you had reports of like difficulty finding assets and licenses uses? It says like it's more difficult to find assets and licenses uses like we could with the last portal. Is it in a different place, or have you had reports of like maybe just UI confusion a little bit?
Not a ton. Really, the only name change we made was we took everything from a top tab to a left pane moment. And then the big change, which is where everything lives, is the entities section under manage. It used to be called groups, but now it manages both the endpoint product and the DNS product in one view. As long with the searching and the filtering there, that should get any of the functionality pieces taken care of. And then the other thing to check out is usage.webroot.com. There's a button under account information under settings, which is kind of buried. But if you just go to usage.webroot.com and log in with your Webroot credentials, there's your license usage. There's all of your active, and it does give you a calendar. You can start picking dates and things like that. So you really have the flexibility right there.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. And then the last one that I will dive into, and it does, you know, it's regarding what kind of just went down with Kaseya. I know Hannah dropped into our chat kind of our company blog post and stance. You know, we've been pretty clear in open office hours that you know, we're not going to go we're not going to be the ones going deep on the security side for Synchro. But the question is, could an AV product like Webroot, could that have had any impact on, like, would it help minimize the damages that attack, that specific attack on Kaseya had? Would an AV have done anything?
Yeah, that one's kind of a tricky one. So this was literally one of the most sophisticated attacks that we've ever seen. This came in the form of a completely legitimate Kaseya update, right? So Kaseya signature, Kaseya certificate, the whole 9 yards. From an integrations and a perspective, this is stuff that every AV company in the world has completely and totally whitelisted, and that's kind of a mandate from Kaseya, right? Like you can't be stomping on our product. So yeah, it was problematic for everybody. The one thing that I will say is the short answer to the question is yes. A product like Webroot can absolutely mitigate that. And again, I think a lot of that goes back to the architecture and the threat intelligence behind our solution. We did see some customers who were impacted early on at the very, very early stages of that attack. But because of our threat intelligence network, our threat researchers started seeing, hey, why is Kaseya starting to encrypt customer files? This doesn't make any sense. And so we saw very, very quickly that there was something bad going on. And so we were very, very quickly able to protect from the ransomware that was actually being distributed. So the short answer is yes. But again, given the level of sophistication of this attack, it was a very, very difficult one for folks to get in front of.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you.
Cool, thanks. I'll go ahead and grab a couple questions in here. I think they're kind of off topic, some of them. So Kyle is asking, can Synchro alert and auto-generate a ticket from a Windows event ID? For example, I want tickets created for when a user account is added. So absolutely. I'll just share my screen with you right here. So I'm going to go into, let me just open a new tab here. I've got all my tabs open for my questions. I'm going to go into my automated remediations. This is where you're going to want to do it. This is going to pull the automatic, I think there's like 5 or 6 that are in your policies by default. But if you have added any other event IDs, then those would show up in here. You'll see your event log IDs. And then we'll just pretend that this one is the one that you want to select. And then I could automatically convert this into a ticket. Really quickly, if you're looking to how do I add more event log IDs? So if you head into your policies, click on policy modules, and then you're going to go to event log monitoring. You'll see we just have a couple in here. New event log policy. We do have a long list here, or if it's something that you want to just go on to Google and search for new user added, I think we even did that during an open office hours recently, then you can go ahead and add that in here and it'll show up in your automations. So I hope that helps. Another question in here, Joseph is asking, what happens to PCs that have Webroot, but they are not in Synchro? So we might want to get a little more clarification on that, but I'm pretty certain you guys can confirm they don't have to have Synchro, right? From their Webroot portal, they can still put Webroot on additional devices that aren't Synchro managed, and then Synchro still handles the billing. So I'm not sure if that's the question that you're referring to. Is that how it happens?
That's how I understand it. And I think you hit the nail on the head with the Synchro managed part too. So if the desire is then to bring those devices into Synchro and manage them, just get them in the right Synchro managed policy.
Yep, absolutely. So you can definitely do that. They don't have to be managed through Synchro. Of course, you don't pay for them, so might as well, right? Unless they're a different type of device that we don't support. Another question from Gary. So we buy all of our subscriptions through Packsate and would like to keep it there. Any way to get a better integration to Synchro? So the Packsate integration is awesome for billing, but I know it goes 2 ways because your antivirus would then not be integrated. We probably won't be adding that if we're honest, because we want you to be able to take advantage of having a Synchro managed antivirus, but we'll definitely pass that along for sure. But your billing is absolutely going to be seamlessly integrated, of course. Another question from Darren. How do you enter the actual my company has for a product or service such as shipping? Okay, I think I'm going to butcher this a little bit just to make sure I understand. So every time we use a product like shipping in an invoice, the cost charged to the customer is easy to enter. However, there's no field to enter our actual cost. So let me just show you something and see if this works for you. I think this is what you're getting at here. So in your products, if you just want to add like shipping, you would be able to add like how much you're charging the customer as well as what your cost is. Now, another option, if you're just manually adding it into an invoice and you go down and you add, let me just cancel this and I go add a manual item, I can type in shipping right here, and then it's going to be the price to the customer and the cost to you. Now that cost doesn't show on the invoice on the line item, just the customer cost. So let me know if that doesn't help. I think that will answer your question, and I don't have any more.
There we go. There's the mute button. Okay, I will answer the next question. Craig asks, I don't remember if I asked this before, but is there a way to turn off the invoice module if it will not be used? So this is a Synchro question. I'm going to share my screen. Yes, there is a way to do that. Again, most of our MSPs are using the entire Synchro platform to run their entire business out of Synchro, because that is the purpose of having everything in one place, is kind of rolling any time or charges from a ticket into an invoice, automatically emailing, accepting payment, and syncing to your accounting without you lifting a finger at the end of the month. So I'd love to hear if there is a specific reason that you're not looking to use the invoicing. We would love to add any features or anything that you feel would make that easier to use for you. But for now, if there is a different accounting platform maybe that you're using that we don't integrate with, there is a way to disable the invoicing through Synchro. If you go over to your more section under tabs customization, you can just make sure that it kind of takes it out of that menu item for you. If you unselect invoices, that will remove it from this tab here. The other option here as well is for your text perspective, you can click into security groups and then just go ahead and unselect invoices and payments and things like that you don't want them to see from their perspective. So that would be how you do it for now. And then I have another question that disappeared, so looks like that's it for me.
Wonderful. Okay, I'm just going to read this like from start to finish. There is a Windows issue with Umbrella and their client, but according to Umbrella, it is Windows and not their roaming client. The issue is we constantly lose internet and have to reboot. The status indicator shows no internet. Cisco Umbrella support is aware and says they are waiting on Microsoft. Do you have any connectivity issues with your DNS product?
I've heard that from customers using Cisco Umbrella. I have not, Craig, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm definitely not aware of any issues with the Webroot DNS product.
The closest I can think of is about 2 years ago, the status indicator in the system tray would be off, but the service was working. And I haven't seen that in years. So yeah, I'm not sure if that's unique to Cisco or not, but connectivity wise, I think one of the greatest pieces that the DNS service offers that differentiates us from our largest OEM partner for our threat intelligence is the fact that the DNS service is also fully DOH compliant. So we're the only one doing that level of security with a core web filtering product. So
awesome. Okay, thank you. And then the other one I've got in here is, can you touch on any highlights on what Webroot can do for phishing protection?
Yeah, I'll keep it kind of high level because I could probably talk for about an hour on that. But really, this goes to the threat intelligence behind the solution and the multiple layers of protection that you get with Webroot that you maybe don't get with other AV solutions. There really truly are multiple layers. For example, we have a web threat shield, one of the very first endpoint protection products to protect born threats, right? So web threat shield built right into the endpoint protection product. Someone's going to a bad website, we're going to block them. We're going to stop them from getting there. We also have a machine learning based real-time anti-phishing technology, right? So if you go back to last March, since the start of the pandemic, we've seen over a 640% increase in phishing attacks. What's really been truly remarkable is not just the increase in the number of phishing attacks, but the average life cycle has gone down from about 4 to 5 hour attack cycles to 4 to 5 minute attack cycles. So we've gone from seeing about 12,000 phishing sites every day to north of 70,000 new phishing sites every day. And these things are only living for 4 to 5 minutes, right? And so it's becoming increasingly difficult for vendors to keep up with all of these different phishing attacks. So our real-time anti-phishing technology is really critical, right? From a machine learning perspective, we can sniff those out in real time. So if it's a brand new phishing site that we haven't seen before, we can actually sniff that out in real time. And then you start adding on layers like a DNS protection or a firewall, right? That provides that additional kind of layer of protection as well. So there literally are multiple layers to the Webroot solution that make it highly effective against things like phishing attacks and things of that nature, right?
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. 2 questions in here. So Darren is asking, adding the product this is a follow-up. Adding the product manually will work, but it would be nice to change the product cost of an existing product at the time it's added to an invoice. So you can do that if we go into, let me open up an invoice. And let me just open up a random invoice here. If I'm adding a product, I know I have like Dell, I can add that product right here. And when I create that line item, you're going to be able to click on this little arrow and you can change the cost right there. So see if that works for you. And then Randy is asking, is there a way in documentation to do a wildcard search? It's a long question, but they're trying to use documentations a lot more and it will return whole words. It only works on titles. So actually, let me show you something because I just tested this. So if you have, like, I just created a little documentation here and I added woo woo. in the, because it's only appropriate for today. It's the weekend, whoop, whoop. I added that, I saved the page, and then I can search all things, whoop, whoop. And I just want to say that. And it does return that. So let me know if that's not what you're looking for, or if you're looking for a little bit more, I don't know. Let me know. Whoop, whoop. Whoop, whoop.
You're doing this.
Can I get a whoop, whoop? Sorry, I just like to have fun with you guys on a Friday. We got to keep it light here.
I just love when everyone shares the documentation screen and you get to see my dog. I love that, like, that's my dog getting like literally hit in the face with a snowball.
A dog is famous. Crystal is famous.
I'll grab this one from Cole. Any update on being able to set up security groups for technicians, for instance, only allowing T2, T3 tech access to our highly sensitive customers? So as you know, as of today, it's like, it's either your technicians have access to all of your customers, and of course you can have different security groups of like, what they can do on a global scheme. We also have the single customer permission, so you could have like one technician assigned to like one customer where they only see that instance. Otherwise, we do surface this often. I know that we're looking into it. The other, it's not like a workaround from a security standpoint, but from like a UI standpoint, you can create, like the saved ticket views, so that those technicians are only seeing, the tickets that you're wanting them to have access to, and that kind of thing. But happy to continue to surface that, because I think it's important. Oh. I see you laughing, Brandy, and I looked down and saw Randy. I have not read these other questions from Darren or Corey. Has anyone else?
Nope. I'm happy to read it out loud, even if I have no idea what it's talking about, though. So Corey says we have the script set up for inactivity lock after 30 minutes. However, users are having Windows sessions lock after 1 to 2 minutes. We've adjusted settings, but can't seem to find the magic bullet to get this to work as expected. See, I don't know it, but I read it. I would, if anyone else knows, feel free to chime in. We have an excellent community that usually answers each other's questions. But otherwise, I would submit that to our support team, honestly, because it sounds like that's a setting adjustment, and you don't want me to come up with that script for you.
Or me. Nope, not doing it.
My scripts all just like add time to a ticket, start making it billable, That's it.
Whoop, that's all.
Whoop, whoop.
I was going to grab this one from Darren, because I think if I'm reading this properly, we already have this, is the ability to allow for multiple email templates for different types of invoices on the roadmap. We like to use different verbiage on different types of invoices, such as reoccurring, service, repair. So we have multiple invoice templates. So if you just go to your admin section, PDF and email templates, you can go to invoice templates, you can create multiple. And then what's nice is that on a reoccurring invoice, you have the drop down where you can select which template you want to use. And when you're creating manual invoices, you can choose which template, and you can even have a default one. So Darren, we've got that covered. You're set.
And Corey, I'm dropping a chat in the chat box for you. Today, you can have one asset in one policy. We will be releasing policy inheritance really soon, and I have a video for that. So that's going to be dropped in the chat box here in a couple seconds.
Awesome. As our questions are kind of winding down, Gary or Craig, if you have anything you want to like leave us with, you have the floor. If you'd like a couple minutes, put you on the spot.
Well, I'm just both surprised and pleased that we didn't completely ruin your session today. So.
What are you talking about? This was a blast. And also, I wanted to mention out loud, I love your background, Gary, like with Audrey, and like, yes, I love it. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Audrey hangs out with me every day now, so.
I love it.
I've kind of like retro renovated a mid-century home. So yeah, I've got all kinds of like weird old stuff around. So no, I would just say that I think if everyone who's on the session today, if you haven't already made the move to some type of a next gen platform, it could be Webroot, it could be any other next gen platform, but it really is the direction that the entire industry is going. You know, obviously I'm particular to Webroot, and we really were kind of pioneers in this whole motion towards next gen endpoint protection. But it's when you start looking at, everybody's using multiple layers of security now, right? You have to. It's just the nature of the beast right now. But one of the things that's really, really nice from a Webroot perspective is it's an actual endpoint protection product that employs multiple layers of protection as well. So you get multiple layers within the multiple layers that you're kind of using when you start looking at firewalls and DNS protection and things like that, when we've got the real-time anti-phishing, the web threat shield, those kinds of things. And so just to kind of improve your overall security posture, right? What if your AV solution actually provided multiple layers itself? That's the last thing I think I would leave people with.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And you know, this happens, we'll come down to the final minutes because we have just, and you can kind of like quickly, or we could rapid fire these questions, but does Webroot have any plans on dark web monitoring?
At this point, I don't necessarily think that we do. I know that that's one of our competitors. That's a big thing that they do, is dark web monitoring and enabling MSPs to use that as kind of a sales tool. We do have a separate solution called security awareness training, which is really geared towards the end user, better education, phishing simulation campaigns, things of that nature. We do provide a breach report when you provision a new customer, so you can see if anyone within that organization has an email address that's been associated with a breach. But I don't think at this time, at least, that we're necessarily looking to jump into the whole dark web monitoring side of things.
Got it.
I could be wrong, but
I actually am not sure if this is a Synchro question or a Webroot question. Is there a way to query Webroot for status or malware events via PowerShell or Windows event logs?
Gary, I'd love to talk to you offline. let's dig in. That's a lot of what I do through multiple applications. So yeah, I will reply and get you my email address.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'd like to dig in further for sure.
Cool.
Awesome. I'm going to grab this real quick from Darren so it gets answered. But he went to the email templates and only sees predefined ones, and there's only one for unpaid invoices. So I just want to really quickly, the email templates, those aren't something that there's multiple of. So it would be one or the other. It's the actual invoice template, estimate template, etc., that you can create multiple of. So if I'm here, I can create multiple different templates. But as far as like the emails go, then there's not like multiple different emails for appointments and hasn't paid, etc.
Darren, I will send you a video later just to show you just another place where when you send it out, you can hit email and it prompts you for an additional space. And so where you can add in some additional information too. So I will send it to you later.
Thanks, Hannah.
Thank you. Awesome. Okay, well, I just wanted to say once again, Gary, Craig, thank you so much for joining us today. This was really, really fun. This has been recorded, will be on our YouTube channel. But hopefully you'll join us again sometime. This was a great session. We appreciate you being open to the rapid fire Q&A. Put you on the spot a little bit. So thank you so much, and happy Friday. And I hope everyone has a wonderful, safe, happy weekend.
thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.